Late Thursday night, Erik Weinmayer approached the highest point on Earth. Erik became the first blind person to reach the summit of Mount Everest, 29,000 feet up.
Dad, you remember that when I played hooky from school? And I called the principal of the school, pretended like I was you. Hi, this is Mr. Weinmayer. Erik's too sick to come into school today. And then the principal got on the phone and he said, well, Mr. Weinmayer, if Erik isn't back in school in 15 minutes, he's going to have a detention. I was back in school in 10 minutes.
My name is Ed Weinmayer, and I'm 61 years old.
My dad was the broom that was sort of sweeping me out into the world, and my mom was the dustpan. She'd sweep me back into it and put me back together again.
It was in Pensacola, Florida, that I met Ellen Baker on a Sunday night at the Officers Club.
I remember seeing this beautiful girl at the end of a table. I was too shy to go over and try to make an introduction, and my friends kept pushing me to go over there. And I kept trying to catch her eye, and finally I did.
She said she saw him across the room and she thought he was pretty studly.
She winked at me, and that was it.
Ellen grew up in Jay, Florida, which was as rural could be.
She was the lead majorette. She won beauty contests, and she was amusingly Miss Soybean.
She was lovely and passionate, a yin to my yang. We were married on January 17th, 1964. We had Erik on September 23, 1968.
From my dad, I got a sense of persistence, of perseverance, of never giving up. And from my mom, I got this sort of creative, softer side of life.
Ellen was artistic, very bold, and really mischievous, just like Erik is.
I loved to just be in the group doing the fun, exciting, adventurous things, whether it was throwing eggs at cars or, ringing doorbells and running.
Erik, as a young boy, lived a very normal life until he got to the age when his sight started to deteriorate further.
I played basketball, even though I couldn't see very well, and I'd get blasted in the head with the ball quite a bit. But when I went blind at 13, I was sort of lost for a while.
He did not want to live in the blind world. He wanted to live in the sighted world, and he struggled with that.
Then I discovered wrestling, and wow, that changed my life. When I could take a sighted kid and I could slam them into the mat, I thought, wow, maybe being blind isn't so bad. I can compete.
Ellen used to watch Erik wrestle. She'd see him thrown across the mat. She just had to be cringing on the inside.
She didn't like the bloody noses or the bruises. But every now and then, when I was right in the thick of a match, my mom would get really into it and start cheering, and I'd actually hear her screaming from the stands, which was really wild.
It was really Ellen that is responsible for Erik being in a normal school system his whole life, because when he was a child, everybody wanted him sent to a blind school. But it was Ellen's passion, really, which prevailed. Well, definitely the most difficult day in my life was having to tell Erik his mom was killed.
I was 16 years old. I'd been blind for a couple years, and I just sort of learned to deal with blindness, and I was just getting over the hump. And then my mom died, and it was a thousand times more difficult than going blind.
When Ellen was killed in the car accident, Erik and I really became dependent upon each other in a lot of ways.
We were struggling as a family. My dad was working on Wall Street, working very long hours.
We decided kind of as a group that we wanted to go on adventures every summer. We did this to reintroduce the glue that you don't have when a mom's not there.
My dad basically would like steer me down the trails.
We went to northern Pakistan and climbed in the Karakorums.
I was just using a long white cane, and my dad would take his hand and put it on my neck, try to drive me sort of around these rocks and stuff, and it's kind of a nightmare.
Tajikistan and climbed in the Pamirs.
I just thought this is kind of miserable, but some parts of it I liked, and I liked being with my family.
It was mostly climbs in mountainous areas that were very remote.
Working with my dad and my two brothers, hiking down these really rocky, steep, nasty, narrow trails, when I really had no idea how to hike as a blind person. It was just the beginning of something really cool. When my family came to base camp, it was sort of the climax of all the things that we had done together over the years, but I was going on and they were staying.
Ellen and I had one joint hope, and that is that he was going to grow up to live a meaningful life that he could feel good about.
On the summit of Mount Everest, I mean, I thought about all the people that had worked so hard to get me there.
And that certainly happened, and I think that's why I say she would be very thankful.
When my mom passed away, I've always sort of looked for her, you know, and I was looking for her sort of in the wrong place. Where I look for my mom now is right there when I'm touching granite that's been warmed by the sun, or she's the crunch of snow under my feet, or she's the wind that I feel. That's, I think, the best way to connect with people who are gone. Maybe they just go into the world and they become everything you love.
I am 61 years old, and I've lost a beautiful wife. However, I've been given the opportunity to know and develop a deeper relationship with all of my sons. I love my son, Erik, for his incredible mental toughness, for his tenacity to go after sighted wrestlers and take them down to the mat. I love Erik for staring adversity down, for climbing Mount Everest safely and calmly, opening a new world for those with disabilities, and opening a new world for those without. I love Erik for being such a sweet boy, such a wonderful father and husband, and for imparting Ellen's nurturing qualities to his own daughter, Emma. I am so proud of my son, and Ellen, too, would be so proud.